Wonderful. Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Today is Temurah Lamed Gimel. It's not Lag BaOmer, it's Lag BeTemurah. And we're going to get a bit of a running start. We actually got to the top of Lamed Gimel. We're going to go back. So we have sponsors. The week of learning is sponsored by Maya Hoffman in memory of her father Ruvain ben Emmanuel Zol, Neshama shel Aliyah, and the family. The Neshama will have an Aliyah. The family of Nechama, and we have a Talmud Torah sponsor this month of Yonah and Shushi Ehrenfeld in memory of Yonah's grandfather Joseph Ehrenfeld, Yosef ben Shmuel Aaron Zol. The Neshama will have an Aliyah, and the family a Nechama. Okay, Rabbi Sai, it's Lag BeTemurah, and we're going to get a running start. I'm going to give you a little recap outside from yesterday. Yesterday we talked about Mishanin B'Kedusha, changing Kedusha. And we said that if something is Kodshim Mizbeach, for example, it's an Ola, you can't make your Ola into a Shlamim, you can't change Kedusha. And if it's Bedek Abayis, you can't change the Kedusha. But there was this concept of Makdishino, so Kiddush Ilui, the sort of a assessed Kedusha, where if you had an animal, a carbon for the Mizbeach, you could add financial Kedusha to it, to Chermei Kohanim or to Bedek Abayis. And what would happen is, Rabbi, you understand, when you makdish an animal, it's not really yours anymore. You now have to bring that on the Mizbeach as your carbon, but you still have a financial stake in this carbon, because if it's a neder, Rabbi, you have achrayus, because if something happens to this particular animal, you are on the hook financially to replace it, and therefore, if he wants to add financial sanctity, he pays the value of his neder animal to the Chermei Kohanim or the Bedek Abayis. And even if the animal is a Nadava or a Bosai, he still has some financial stake in it. Even though a Nadava, you're not Chayev Achrayus, you wouldn't have to replace it if the animal was lost. But since he can get Tovas Hana money for it, remember, that's when another Yisrael gives him a tip, gives him a little cash, something worth money, that he should let his grandson, the Kohen, do the avoda. So this Yisrael giving you money, his daughter married a Kohen, his grandson's a Kohen, and he wants to pay you a little tip for the rights that his grandson should do the avoda and get the parts of the carbon that are shaykh to the Kohen. So you would still have some financial shaykhus to this animal, even if it's an adava, and that's the amount that you would give to Bedek Abayis or Chermei Kohanim if you add on this extra kedusha to your carbon, which was it's really a carbon for the Mizbeach. Now, you're not changing the destination. If you have a carbon for the Mizbeach, you can't then take that away from the Mizbeach and send it over to Bedek Abayis or Chermei Kohanim. You can't do that. It's only a financial value that you're now adding on to send to Bedek Abayis or to the Kohanim. I gave the example yesterday. If you put $1 in the tzedakah side of the tzedakah box, you can't take that $1 out and put it in the general fund side. But you can add another $1 into the general fund side. Please do. Have fun. So, then the end of the Mishnah, we said if the karbanos died, if your hektish nebuch, it dies, it has to be buried, meaning you can't have any hana, any enjoyment from this animal. But Rabbi Shimon said, if it's a hektish of Bedek Abayis and it's dead, you could even redeem it. Now, yesterday on Amud Beis, we brought the machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. So Rabbi Yochanan said, whether it's a Bedek Abayis animal or it's a Mizbeach animal, it needs ha'amada ha'aracha. And Reish Lakish said that by, this is according to the Rabbanon. Reish Lakish said, according to the Rabbanon, if it's for the Bedek Abayis, it needs ha'amada ha'aracha, and Mizbeach it doesn't. And that's why Rabbi Shimon disagrees by Bedek Abayis, that it doesn't need ha'amad of aracha, and therefore even after it's dead, it could be redeemed, because you don't have to stand it up. It's very hard to stand up a dead animal. They're heavy. So what are they talking about? Ha'amada fa'aracha. So it's a pasuk. They're not making this up. The Rabban are not making up the concept of ha'amad aracha. So as it says in Bechukosai, in Vayikra, it says, Im kol behema tmeya, if it was a disqualified animal. Art Scroll is beautiful. It translates disqualified. It doesn't say behema tmeya is unkosher animal, because we saw that behema tmeya here means with a bal mum. It has a mum. It would have been a kosher animal, but has a bal mum, or it means a regular behema tmeya, not kosher, to Bedek Abayis. So the pasuk was, Im kol behema tmeya asher lo yakrivu mimenu carbon l'shem, an animal you couldn't bring as a carbon l'sbeach, v'he'emid es behema lifnei kohen, and you cause to stand up. We know Amida is what we do in front of Hashem. We stand up. We're Omed. That's an active verb. He'emid is a hefil, a causative verb. We cause the animal to stand up, lifnei Kohen, in front of the Kohen. And then the next pasuk, ve'erich Kohen. So we have these verbs together, he'emid, ve'erich. So that's why we have the concept, ha'amad v'aracha, herich Kohen, osah, bein tov uvein ra, ke'erich Kohen ken yeh. Whatever the Kohen assesses, that's the value he has to pay to redeem the animal. And if he redeems it, then he adds a fifth onto the value. If the owner who is makdish the animal redeems the animal, then he adds 1/5 to the temple as a sort of a surcharge there. So that we're going to talk more about this pasuk today. But we brought this pasuk yesterday, the bottom of Amud Beis, and we're going to discuss more about this and how Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan disagree in how to read that pasuk, because it has a tremendous nafkamina. So we said that according to Rabbi Yochanan, the rabbis hold that both Kodesh Bedek Habayis and Kodesh Mizbeach need Hamad V'Racha, and according to Reish Lakish, only Bedek Habayis to the Rabbanan needs Hamad V'Racha, and Rabbi Shimon disagrees there. So let's pick it up actually 6 lines from the bottom of my heart. It's the bottom of my heart because it's Leiv Amud Beis 32b at the bottom. Tanya Kivasei Rabbi Yochanan. There's a brisa that goes like Rabbi Yochanan. How is that? It's reading this pasuk. Im behema asher yakriv menu. I'll read you the whole pasuk. No extra charge. It says ve'im behema asher yakriv menu karban lashem kol asher yitem menu lashem yeh kodesh. If it's a behema that's going to be a carbon, anything to Hashem will be kodesh. He says bebali mumin sheyapado kasav b'daber, and then it talks about the concept of redemption, and it says this is talking about a bal mum. That's what the Torah is talking about. Atalmer bali mumin. Are you talking about bali mumin or eno ela behema tameya? It should be mamish tameya, like it's written in the pasuk. It's behema tameya, and the Art Scroll translated it disqualified because Rabbi, the Art Scroll editors, read this Gemara. They learned this Gemara before they translated the Art Scroll. So it's talking about a disqualified, a balmum. Kashu omer im behema tameya. That was the next pasuk. Im behema tameya ufada be'erkecha, and he redeems it for its value. Behema tameya amor. So we have it says behema tameya twice. So once is mamish a behema tameya, a not kosher animal, which we can't be makdish to the mizbeach, so he's makdish to bedek habayis. And the other one was a balmum that he was makdish to the mizbeach. Turning over to the top of Lamed Gimel, ha mani mekayim. So how will I understand ve'im kol behema? Share lo yakriv mimenu karban l'Hashem. Any behema you can't bring to Hashem. But bali mumin sheyapadu. It's a bal mum that you can redeem it. Yachol yapadu al mum over. You might have thought if you were makdish an animal to the temple, then it got a temporary blemish. It was a passing blemish. It would get better. Talmud lomar asher lo yakriv mimenu. It's something you cannot bring as a carbon from it. She'ena krevakol ikar, that you'll never be able to bring it as a carbon. It's a permanent mum. Yatztazo she'enu krevah yom, a temporary mum. You can't bring it today, Rabbosai, ela lemachar, but you can bring it tomorrow, meaning when it gets better. Ve'amar rachmana avid le hamad v'racha, and the pasuk is telling you that you do a hamad v'racha. It needs an assessment when it's a bal mum. You were makdish an animal, Nebuch got a mum, a permanent mum, and now you should redeem it. It needs redemption. We're going to see, God willing with time, in the Sefer Chinuch, he says it's a mitzvah to redeem a bal mum. Not only is it you can redeem a bal mum, but you must redeem a bal mum. Good. Amar Rav Gidel, Amar Rav. We're starting about 6 lines down on 33a. He says, my time of the Reish Lakish. So we heard Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan have a machlokus, but we don't really understand why. Now we're going to, God willing, understand why. So why does Reish Lakish say to Amar Rabbanan Koche Bedek Habayis Hayu Beklol Ha'amad V'Aracha? Why does he say, according to the Rabbanan, that the building fund, the temple treasury, it needs Ha'amad V'Aracha? You need to be able to stand up the animal to assess it, which excludes a dead animal. And Koche Mizbeach Lo Hayu Beklol Ha'amad V'Aracha. But Koche Mizbeach do not need to be stood up to be assessed. So why does Reish Lakish hold this? Damar Kra, he reads a pasuk. And the pasuk is Ve'ericha kohen otah bein tov uvein ra ke'erkacha kohen ken yihiyeh. And the kohen will estimate or establish it. We're going to read that word otah. Bein tov uvein ra, between good, between not good. Ke'erkacha kohen ken yihiyeh. And whatever the kohen assesses, that's what the value is going to be. So the way he reads this pasuk is Ezehu davar. What is the thing she'enu chaluk bein tov l'ra, that we don't distinguish whether it's good or bad, and good and bad in this sense means a tam is good, it's eligible for the mizbeach, and a ra is a balmum. That's not good because it can't go on the mizbeach. So what's the area of kodshim where we don't really care if it has a mum or not? Have omer ze kodshim bedek habayis, because by bedek habayis you can makdish an animal with a mum. You can't makdish something with a mum to be a carbon because something with a mum cannot become a carbon. But by bedek habayis, they're not concerned if it has a mum. They're not concerned if it's a chicken or a donkey or a species that would be kosher to be a carbon. All of it can become bedek habayis. As we had 2 days ago, that bedek habayis is matpis hakol, can take effect on anything, even sawdust and leaves. We saw Rabbi say. So Reish Lakish's limud is, the pasuk says bein tov bein ra, whether it's good or whether it's not good. That's what needs hamad aracha. So that's going on bedek habayis, where we're not concerned whether it has a mum or not. It's still kodshe bedek habayis. The Amar Kra, and the pasuk says ota, and it also says ota vehericha kohen ota, or osa, if you like, Rabbi say, and that's a miut. The ma'ute kodshe mizbeach. So it's davka. This one, ota, is the definite direct article in Hebrew grammar. So it's davka. It's this one. L'miyotei kodshim mizbeach. This excludes kodshim mizbeach. So it's only by bedek habayis, according to Reish Lakish, that the Rabbana need ha'amad aracha, but they don't need it by kodshim mizbeach. So therefore, if an animal that was kodshim mizbeach passed away, it could still be redeemed because it doesn't need ha'amad aracha. Rabbi Yochanan, ota l'miyotei mai. Rabbi Yochanan, what does he do with this pasuk and this word ota, this definite article here? L'miyotei bal mum mekar. This excludes a bal mum mekar, because Rabbi Yochanan, it doesn't really say here, but how does he read this pasuk? So the Rashi explains, Rabbi Yochanan islay vadai dahai bein tov vein ra bekodshei bedek habayis kai. So it's definitely going on kodshei bedek habayis. Ve'emid ve'herich areisha tekra tekimna bekodshei mizbeach. And he says the beginning of this pasuk is talking about mizbeach. Ve'seifa de mishtay bedek habayis kai. And the end of the pasuk is going on bedek habayis. So again, the pasuk he's talking about is the pasuk right before, ve'im behema asher yakrivu mimenu karban lashem. So Rabbi Yochanan says that's obviously a carbon. That's obviously kodshim mizbeach. But the end of that pasuk is kol asher yiten mimenu lashem yeh kodesh. Anything that you give from animals to Hashem yeh kodesh. He says that's bedek habayis. So the pasuk talking about hamad aracha, the pasuk right before that, has both yakriva mimenu carbon, that's kodshim mizbeach, and it has yeh kodesh, and that's bedek habayis. So Rabbi Yochanan reads the pasuk. It's both mizbeach and bedek habayis would need hamad of haracha. So osa, but this word osa, hericha kochen osa, miyute mai, what does that exclude? Miyute bal mum meikara, something that was already a mum, a pre-existing condition, we call it in the insurance world, and then he was makdish that. He never should have been makdish that to the mizbeach because it had a bal mum. So therefore, when he redeems it, he has to redeem it because he was makdish it. It gets a kedusha, it gets a shaychus, but because it was a balmum already, a balmum kavua, before he was makdish it was never eligible to go on the mizbeach, so he must redeem it, but it does not need hamad of haracha because of ota excludes it, because it really never should have been nikdash to the mizbeach in the first place. Latana devei Levi, but there's a dissenting opinion. Latana devei Levi, amar afilu balmum meikaru biklal hamad of haracha. So Levi held, or the yeshiva of Levi held, that even a balmum, before it became kodshim, needs hamad of haracha. They have to stand it up in front of the kohen and go through the process of evaluating the value. Detani Levi himself taught, hakol hayu beklal hamad of haracha. Everything is included in the rule of hamad of haracha, of assessing it with the kohen. Afilu balmum meikaru, even if it was a balmum first, and then he was makdish it to the mizbeach, which he really shouldn't have done because it's not eligible. V'ken tane devei Levi should be the girsa, and so too they taught in Levi's yeshiva b'masnisei, in his brisa, his teaching, afilu chaya, afilu ophos, even wild animals, even birds. Now it's interesting. It says b'matnisei, if you like. That's a possessive word in his Mishnah. So we see in Levi's yeshiva, they were teaching Levi's version of the Mishnah, or Levi's version of the Brisa. Now famously, Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi established the Mishnah, we say. Now there's actually, it's not clear historically, it's not clear in Chazal if he wrote it down then or not. but he was at least misader the Mishnah, even if it wasn't written down. He put the Mishnayos in order. And Rabbi, the order of Mishnayos matters. We have a rule, it's brought up somewhere in the Bavas, that stam v'yesh halacha ki yesh, meaning if there's a stam Mishnah, a Mishnah without an attribution to a specific rabbi, and then later on in the same Masechta, you have a Mishnah that has an opposite opinion or a dissenting opinion with an attribution, it's halacha kistam. Halacha ki yesh against the stam, because Rabbi put them in the right order. Rabbi put the Mishnayos in the correct order as he was teaching them and figuring out. Rabbi, it's not just Rabbi and his whole yeshiva and his whole shir, they were figuring out which Mishnayos are authentic and which are authoritative that we should paskin like, and they put them and taught them in a specific order. And our Gemara is totally based on Rabbi's order. So even if Rabbi didn't actually write them down, he put them in the order that makes a difference for halacha. And we know later Rabbi Chia put the Baraitot, the Baraisa, in order and figured out which Baraisas are authoritative. And this matters also, even though Baraisa, the word bra means outside. So it's outside of the Mishnah, it's outside of the canon of the Mishnah, but the Baraisas make a huge difference in halacha, because what do we do when we learn Gemara? Most of the time, what does the Gemara do? It reads you the Mishnah, and then it says, Meisive, that's bringing a Baraisa to ask a Shailor, it says Vahat Tanya, but there's a Baraisa, because a lot of what the Gemara does, a lot of the lumdus of the Gemara is comparing the Baraisa and the Mishnah, and figuring out, well, the Baraisa may not be as canonical and authoritative as the Mishnah, but these are statements of Chazal, they're statements of Tanaim. We have to figure out if they're disagreeing with the Mishnah, or they're explaining the Mishnah in a certain way, or it applies in a certain case. So a lot of what we're doing is comparing Mishnayot and Baraitot, and it's amazing to me that in the yeshiva of Levi, they had a version of the Baraita that was Dafka, it was like Levi. So it seems that perhaps even after the Baraita was canonized, they still taught Levi's Torah in Levi's yeshiva. And you see this all over. Any yeshiva, they'll tell you what the Rosh Yeshiva says. So they're continuing in the tradition of the Devei Levi, of Levi's yeshiva. So he has this Das Yachid that everything, even a Balmu Me'ikaro, and even a Chaya, even an Oaf, needs Hamad V'racha. They ask a Shaila, HaKasiv Osa, but the pasuk says Osa, Ota, which is L'meyute. So Rabbi Yochanan says that excludes a Balmu Me'ikaro, doesn't need Hamad V'racha, and Reish Lakish says that excludes not only Balmu Me'ikaro, but also excludes Kodshim Mizbeach, because Reish Lakish holds only Kodshim Bedek Habayis needed Hamada Haracha, because Ubein Tov Ubein Ra, we don't care whether it's Balmum or not. Kasha. So it's a Kasha on Levi. Good. So far we have seen a source for Reish Lakish, and we explained based on Reish Lakish the source for Rabbi Yochanan that this Uvein Tov Uvein Ra he reads differently, and this Osa he reads differently, because he reads the pasuk differently as referring both to Kodshim Mizbeach and Kodshim Bedek Habayis. Good. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav Maitama de Rabbi Shimon. What's the reasoning of Rabbi Shimon? Rabbi Shimon in our Mishnah held that if you had an animal belonging to Bedek Habayis and Nebuch it died, you could still redeem it after it died because it doesn't need Hamad of Racha. So what's his reasoning? Damar Kodshim Mizbeach Hayu B'Klo Hamad of Racha. He says that animals for the Mizbeach do need standing up and assessing. Kodshim Bedek Habayis lo, but Kodshim for the treasury do not need it. Lo Hayu. Amar Kra, he reads the pasuk. V'hericha Krochen Osa Bein Tov Uvein Ra. So we're going to see Rabbi Shimon reads the pasuk differently than Reish Lakish. When he hears Bein Tov Uvein Ra, he reads it differently. He says, Ezehu Davar Shechaluk Bein Tov Uvein Ra. What is the item where it matters whether it's good, a tam, no mum, or it's raw, it has a mum? When do we make a distinction? Have Omer Ze Kodshim Mizbeach. That is by Kodshim Mizbeach. We do care halachically whether it had a mum, then we can't offer it, or whether it's tov and we can offer it. So, and it's telling you the pasuk is telling you Heri Chacho and Osa Bein Tov Bein Ra by Kodshim Mizbeach, where we care whether it's tov or ra. That's where the Kohen does the ha'aracha, the evaluation of the value. V'amakra Osa, but the pasuk says Osa L'me'ute Bedek Habayis. So he reads it the opposite of Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish says Bein Tov Bein Ra means we don't care whether it's good or bad, and that's for Bedek Habayis. And the Ota was L'me'ute Mizbeach. And Rabbi Shimon, according to Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, reads it the opposite way. That is Bein Tov Bein Ra means we do care whether it's Tov without a mum or it's Ra with a mum by the Mizbeach. And Ota excludes Bedek Habayis. So they ask sort of a kasha on this. Ihachi, if it's so that Bein Tov Bein Ra means we do care whether it's good or bad, Bein tov l'rami ba'alei. Hashem should have written in the Heilige Torah whether it's good or bad. Kasha. So it's a bit of a kasha on Rabbi Shimon. So what's going on is you could translate this Bein tov l'ra sounds between good and bad. We need to know whether it's good and bad. So that would support Rabbi Shimon's reading that we do care whether it's good, tam, or it's ra, a bal mum. But since it says Bein tov uvein ra, you might translate that in English as whether or not, whether it's good or whether it's bad. That's the way Reish Lakish reads the pasuk. He says whether it's good or whether it's bad, Bein tov, Bein ra, it needs hamad aracha, that's bedek habayis. But Rabbi Shimon's reading the opposite. He says Bein tov uvein ra means really Bein tov l'ra. We need to distinguish whether it's good, tam, or it's ra, a bal mum, and that's kodji mizbech. So we see it's the opposite. Meisive, we're going to ask a baraisa that sounds not like Rabbi Yochanan. Meitu, if they died, the kodjim passed away, t'mimim, but they were tam, they were worthy to go on the mizbeach, they're unblemished. Yikavru, they must be buried. Bale mumin, if they had a mum, Yipadu, they should be redeemed. B'medvar morim, when does the supply bekodshei mizbeach? That's only bekodshei mizbeach, where they would need, they could be redeemed bal mum. Aval kodshei bedek habayis, bein t'mimim, bein bali mumim yikavru. But for bedek habayis, whether or not they had a mum, they must be buried. They can't be assessed now after they've passed away. Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Shimon dissents. He says, Echad kodshei mizbeach, Echad kodshei bedek habayis. Tzimimim yikavru. If they did not have a mum, they must be buried. Bale mumin yipadu. If they had a mum, they need to be redeemed. Tiyuv to Rabbi Yochanan Reisha. So the Reisha of this sounds not like Rabbi Yochanan, who said that the Rabbanan agree, both by kodshei bedek habayis and kodshei mizbeach, that it needs hamad aracha and it cannot be redeemed after death. And this brisa says it could, if it's a mum. Amar lach Rabbi Yochanan hachav ma'askinan b'bal mum meikaro. So this brisa, he says, is a bal mum meikaro. It had a mum before you were makdish at Rabbi, so it doesn't even need hamad of haracha, as we said a little earlier. Hachanami mistabra, and this too is clear. De'i tema shekalam hikdishan es muma. And if you tell me they were makdish the animal and then afterwards it got the mum, lithor Rabbi Shimon Allah. Rabbi Shimon should argue against that and say that doesn't need hamad haracha. So it must be, according to Rabbi Yochanan, gets out of this baraisa by saying it must be talking about a balma meikaro that doesn't need hamad aracha. So it could be redeemed even after it's dead. So this baraisa could also be a kasha, a tiyuvta, is even worse than a kasha, on Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish mokim la b'shekadam hekdeshin as mumen. Reish Lakish reads this brisa that the hekdesh came before the mum. He was makdesh the animal, and then afterwards it got a mum, and now he can come and redeem it. Ihachi niflag Rabbi Shimon Allah, so Rabbi Shimon should disagree. Reish Lakish mepech eipich. Reish Lakish flipped around the shita. Hachi motiv b'mechilta achrisa, and he brought this kasha, he brought this teaching from a mechilta achrisa. Mechilta usually means like a bundle. Here, the Rashi points out the ashkach baraisa achrisa. He found another baraisa, a different teaching that switched it around. So here we just had Tana Devei Levi. The Devei Levi had Masni Say. They had a version of the baraisa that taught like Levi, and here Reish Lakish found another version of this baraisa that flipped around the shita. So you see there were these other teachings out there that were outside of the canon, and the Amoraim were asking kashas on each other from these other statements of Chazal. So it's amazing. He found a statement of Chazal that supported him. And what was it? Meitu, if they died, the animals died, bein t'mimim, bein balei mumin, yikavru, whether they had a mum or not, they must be buried. B'mad devarim amorim, when does this apply? Bekodshei bedek habayis. Bekodshei bedek habayis, they need to be buried. That supports Reish Lakish, who says kodshei bedek habayis, according to the Rabbanan, needs hamad of haracha. Aval, bekodshim mizbeach yipadu. But by kodshim mizbeach, they must be redeemed. That supports Reish Lakish. So he found the teaching consistent with his opinion. Rabbi Shimon Omer, and Rabbi Shimon says, T'mimim yikavru, if they are perfect, worthy for the mizbeach, they must be buried. Balei mumin yipadu. If they had a mum and they died, they could even be redeemed now, because he doesn't need hamad of racha. Tuv to the Rabbi Yochanan. So this is a kasha on Rabbi Yochanan, miseifa, from this version. Amar lach Rabbi Yochanan will tell you, Hacham ma'askinim b'mabu me'karo. So he says, a bal mum me'karo never needs hamad of racha. Only Devei Levi holds that. Achalami mistabra, this too is clear, to e tema b'shekalim hekdeshin as muman. If the hekdesh came before it got a mum, niflag Rabbi Shimon Allah, Rabbi Shimon should argue against it. Ela lema te'atiyuv to the Reish Lakish. So if it's a bal mum me'kara, it should be a problem for Reish Lakish's opinion. Amar lach Reish Lakish hachab ma'askina. What are we dealing with? B'shekadam hekdeshan es mum. He says the hekdesh came before the mum, and that's why it gets a mum later, and it could be redeemed. Nikola Rabbi Shimon alas. Rabbi Shimon should disagree with that. Amar lach Reish Lakish hachanami depolig. Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon does disagree with that. Rabbi Shimon disagrees in the brisa. Amar le Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Zera. So Rabbi Yirmiyah told Rabbi Zera. L'Reish Lakish, according to Reish Lakish, the Amar who says the Rabbanan Kodshim Mizbeach Lo Hayu B'Kol Hamadaracha. He says according to the rabbis that Kodshim Mizbeach, things that go on the altar, do not need to be assessed. Katane, and the Brisa teaches Kodshim Mizbeach, turning over Amid Base, Kodshim Mizbeach Bale Mumin Yipadu, that if they're a Bal Mum, they can be redeemed now. Mokminan Le B'Shekadim Hekdeshin Es Muman, and Reish Lakish interprets this as we've just said, that the hektish came before the mum. So shmamina podin esakodshim lachilan naklavim. That we find from here you could redeem hektish to feed it to the dogs. What's going on? You were makdish an animal, and then it got a mum, and nebuch it died. And according to Reish Lakish, the Brisa is teaching us we can redeem it even after it died. Or Rabbi said, what are you going to do with a dead animal? Not very much. But if you have dogs, the kelev tashlichu nosai, you can feed it to the dogs. So we learned from here it was a machlokis 2 days ago that if you could actually redeem kodshim that had a mum and to feed them to the dogs, or if it was disrespectful. So hacha b'mayas kinan b'she'avar v'shachtan. Really, he shouldn't have done it, but he was avar b'di'eved. It happened v'shachtan, and they shechted the animal already. Kedatanya, like the Brisa teaches, kol kodshim shenafal behen mum. Any kodshim that gets a mum v'shachtan, and then he shechted the kodshim. Really, he shouldn't have done it, but they went ahead and shechted it. Rabbi Meir Omer Yakover. Rabbi Meir says you have to bury it because he holds it would need, Rabbi Meir at least would hold it needs Hamad of Haracha, and now you can't do that because it's Geshektin already. Chachamim Omrim Yapadu, but the sages say, who disagree with Rabbi Meir, they say we do redeem it. We redeem it now after it's dead. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Zera. Rabbi Yirmiyah says to Rabbi Zera, Rabbi Shimon de Amar Kodshe Bedek Abayis Lo Havu Beklal Hamadaracha. He holds that by Bedek Abayis, the temple treasury, it did not need to be stood up and assessed. Amai Tamimim Yakover. Why would the unblemished ones need to be buried? They should be able to be assessed even after they've passed away and be redeemed. Mishum Dechazu Lahakrava, because they were fit to be offered. Because remember, they were Tamimim. If they were Tamimim, they should be buried according to Rabbi Meir, and the Chamim said they could even be redeemed now. Kedetanya, the Brisa said, Hamat Pis Tamimim Lebedek Habayis. Now this is an interesting Brisa, because we learned 2 days ago there was a Heilige Machlokes about this. If someone's mat piece attaches Kedusha on Tamimim, on animals that are fit, do not have a mum, Lebedek Habayis, but he gives them to Bedek Habayis instead. Now, our machlokes 2 days ago was if he was makdish stam. Remember, there's a machlokes. Rabbi Eliezer said if he's makdish kol nachasav, everything goes to Bedek Habayis, even animals that could have gone to the mizbeach. What do? They sell those animals that are roi for the mizbeach, and all the money, all the proceeds goes to Bedek Habayis. Rabbi Yehoshua disagreed. He said if there's something that can go to the mizbeach, we don't leave over the mizbeach and give everything to Bedek Habayis. We assume the person would be cholek, would divide up his neder, and his animals that could go on the mizbeach, we'll put them on the mizbeach, and everything else we're going to give to Bedek Habayis. But here he's mapis tamimim. He has animals that are tam, that could go on the mizbeach, but he specifies to Bedek Habayis. So he doesn't get into the machlokes, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua. That was by stam hekdesh. That's where he didn't specify. Here he has specified that his appropriate animals, his tam animals, can go to Bedek Habayis. So Kaja Hen Niftin, the Brisa teaches, when you redeem such an animal, Eina Niftin Elel Mizbeach. So if you sanctify an animal that could go up on the Mizbeach, but you send it over to the Bedek Habayis side, and then you redeem it, you don't get the animal back, Rabbosai. That animal was a tam, it could have gone on the Mizbeach, it only gets redeemed to go onto the Mizbeach. So here's a case where you're taking the animal, you're buying the animal back from Hekdesh, from the treasury or the Bedek Habayis side, but now it has to go to the Mizbeach side. Why? Shekola roi le Mizbeach, anything worthy to go to the Mizbeach, eno yotze midei Mizbeach olam, it can never come off the Mizbeach. So he was makdish this animal to Bedek Habayis, not the Mizbeach, but when he redeems it, it has to go up on the Mizbeach because it was a tam animal that should have gone on the Mizbeach in the first place. Amar le Rav Papa le Abaye, Amar la le Rava. So Rav Papa said either. Rav Papa said either to Abaye or Rava. by a Rava, you usually find them together, so that's why there might be confusion here. The Rabbi Yochanan, what about to Rabbi Yochanan? To Mukim lo b'bal mum me'ikaro. He says the Braisa we had at the bottom of Amud Aleph was talking about a bal mum me'ikaro that never needs hamad of aracha except Tvei Levi. Kuli alma severe lahu the bal mum me'ikaro lo hava b'kolo hamad aracha, and everyone holds like him that a bal mum me'ikaro, the mum came before the hektish, does not need to be assessed. Velo. Is that true? V'hatnan, the Mishnah says, Kol HaKodshim shekada mum kavua the hekdeshan. So we're talking about a mum kavua, a mum that will not get better, Rabbi, and that came before he was makdish the animal. V'nifdu, and then he redeemed such an animal. So we're going to see what the status is. Usually when we redeem kodshim, we still treat it special. We can redeem kodshim and then we can shek them and eat them, Rabbi, but we can't work with them. We can't shear the wool off and use it. Can't milk them. But this animal was a bal mum kavua, came before the hekdesh. So now, niftu chayavim b'bechora. Once we redeem them, if it has a boy, firstborn animal, that's a bechor, which usually by kodshim we don't have bechor. Uvmatanos, and we give gifts from this. It's talking about the matnos kahuna that come from chulin. So we understand kohanim get parts of the certain karbanos, but even a chulin animal, the kohanim gets the right leg, the zroa l'chayim v'keva, and they get the l'chayim is the jaw, the cheek meat, and they get the keva, the fourth stomach. So those are the matanos that come out of a chulin animal. When you make a barbecue, please invite kohanim and give them those parts. I really don't know if they're going to eat the cheeks and the stomach, but at least they'll eat the leg. V'yotzin l'chulin, they go out to chulin, ligazes v'levad. You can shear the sheep and you can plow with the cow. Vlodan v'chalvan mutter, their offspring and their milk are totally mutter. L'achar pidyanan, after you have redeemed this animal. V'shochtin b'chutz pater, and if you shekt them outside of the temple, you're pater. Really, you can't shekt them in the temple because these are not kodshim anymore. They were bal mum kavua before you were makdishit. You should never have been makdishit, and so when you redeem it, they are chulin entirely. Ein osin temurah, they don't have any sanctity to make a temurah. V'metu yipadu, and even after they've died, you can redeem them. Why? Because it was a bal mum kavua. Even before you were makdishit, you never should have makdished it. So when you redeem it, and we're going to make you redeem it, Rabbi, it is completely chulin. All of these dinim of chulin apply to it, and even after it's dead, you can still be podeh. You can still buy it back. For Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, Rav Yehuda says from Rav, Zo divrei Rabbi Shimon. These are the words of Rabbi Shimon, who allows you to be podeh it. Damar kodshim mizbeach chayu b'klol hamad racha. He says kodshim mizbeach are in the rule of standing it up and estimating it. Kodshim bedek bayis lo hayu, and kodshim bedek bayis do not need that rule. Kiditnon, like the Mishnah said, Rabbi Shimon Omer Kodshei Bedek Habayis Imetu Yapadu, something that's for the temple treasury. If it dies, you can still redeem it. Mode Rabbi Shimon Bal Mume Karo Shenifte. But even though he requires Ha'amad V'Aracha for Kodshei Mizbeach, here he agrees because it's a Bal Mum Kavua Me Karo. A person never should have been makdish this animal, so he can redeem it. Goes back to chulin entirely. He can even redeem it after it passes away. My taimad Amar Kra Osa. Our famous pasuk again, Ha'erich HaKohen Osah Bein Tov Uvein Rak Erich HaKohen Ken Yihye. Osah is a lashon of exclusion. It's a definite direct object. Osah miyute bal mum ekaro. It excludes a bal mum ekaro. That's how Rabbi Yochanan read the pasuk. That's how Rabbi Shimon understands the pasuk according to this teaching. Avol hachamim omrim afilu bal mum ekaro hay b'kol hamad avracha. The chachamim would disagree and they would say even a bal mum ekaro before it was hektish needs this assessment process. Amrle man chachamim. Who are these chachamim who would need an assessment even for a bal mum mekaro? That sounds strange. Tanar devei Levi. It's our famous Levi and his yeshiva that taught his brisa that even a bal mum mekaro still needs this process of hamad of ha'aracha. Remember that word osah for them was a kasha. We haven't answered what they do with that word, but that was a das yachid of Levi who needs hamad of ha'aracha even for a bal mum kavua kodem hekdeshan. Ihachi. If so, Zodi Rabbi Shimon Vesulo, is this only the words of Rabbi Shimon that you can redeem this animal, this bal mum kavua, after it dies? Zodi Rabbi Shimon Mechlukasa Bibayle. It should read, these are the words of Rabbi Shimon and those who disagree with him and the Rabbanan, because everyone agrees by bal mum kavua meikaro that it doesn't need hamad aracha, everyone except Devei Levi. Amar lei hai delokatani hachi, since it doesn't teach Rabbi Shimon and the Rabbanan. Mishum de Rav savar like Reish Lakish. That's because Rav holds like Reish Lakish. De Amar le Rabbanan kuchi bedek abayis hayu b'kol hamad racha. Because Reish Lakish says, according to the Rabbanan, that that koji bedek abayis only were included in Ha'amad of Haracha, need this process to redeem them. Kodesh Mizbeach lo hayu b'kol Ha'amad of Haracha. And Kodesh Mizbeach did not need this. And this is talking about Kodesh Mizbeach. V'reisha ketane, he's going on the Reisha, where he could not redeem them. Imetu yipadu, that if they died, you could redeem them. The Seifa Katane Imetu Yakavru, and the Seifa, which teaches if they died, you have to bury it. And so therefore, the according to Reish Lakish, the Rabbanan are Cholek, and they called by Kodesh Mizbeach, you do not need Hamad of Racha, that's why you could redeem it. By Kodesh Bedek you do need it. Ibai Sema, Rav Rabbi Yochanan Svir Alei. Or you could say Rav holds like Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said that according to Rabbanan, both Kodesh Mizbeach and Kodesh Bedek do need Hamad of Racha. So if so, the Brisa should read, these are not just the words of Rabbi Shimon, but the Rabbi Shimon, the Rabbanan, they're the words of everyone except Levi. We should say, yes, the Brisa should read, these are the words of Rabbi Shimon and the Rabbanan, these are the words of everyone except Devei Levi. Everyone agrees that a Baal Mum Me'ikaro, if you had a Baal Mum first, and you were makdish it later, that you must redeem it, and you could redeem it even after it dies, and it goes into Chulin entirely. We're going to stop here, because tomorrow we have an Amud instead of a Daf, but I have, from the Chinuch, he talks a little bit about appraising this Hamad of Aracha. So he says, he brings the Psukim, he says he shall place the animal in front of the priest shall appraise it. Hamada Havaracha. He has to give the appraisal that the priest that the Kohen appraises, not any less, because we don't decrease what we've said to give about to Hashem. And he explains Midine mitzvah. What's the root of this mitzvah? Why is he assessing the animal? He assesses it and then redeems it. And he brings another animal in its place. This is Maseches Temurah. Our Gemara is Temurah. We started off with the concept, the topic of making a Temurah that's an Aveira. If someone does a Temurah, we give him lashes, and it doesn't work. Hayahu u'Temurato yeh kodesh. Both the original animal and the replacement animal are both kodshim on the Mizbeach. Hasn't changed anything. In fact, his situation is worse. Now he has two animals as karbanos instead of one. This Yavi Behema Acheres Tachteya, the Sefer Chinuch is saying, he's redeeming the first animal, redeeming the Baal Mum animal, and bringing another animal in its place. This is not a Temurah Bosai. He's first redeeming the animal which he can't bring as a carbon, and now he's going to get a brand new animal to take the place of his neder or his nadava. He's not trying to switch animal A into animal B. He's taking animal A out of Hekdesh, redeeming this Baal Mum animal, and now he's bringing in a totally new animal. So this is not a Temurah, but it's bringing the proper carbon in the proper place. And he continues, he says, Naheges mitzvah zo b'zachar min kevis bizman abayis. This is lashon of the Rambam. Rambam says this mitzvah is only bizman abayis of erchin. But the Sefer Chinuch, he says, I think this applies bizman azeh. Why? It's an amazing thing. Of all bizman azeh amru Chazal. Chazal say she'ein makdishin, ein marachin, ein machrimim. Rabbi say, do not make hekdesh, do not make erchin, do not make charamim. Ve'im hikdesh cherich herchim. If he did one of these vows, minadinhu, it should be what should happen. Behema ta'aker, will kill the behema. Peirus ksus v'kelim yirkavu, and fruits, clothing, kalim, they should all rot. If you make something hekdesh, it should go to rot. Avalim rotze b'takanasan, but Hashem gave us a takana. Hashem gave us a way to fix it. Avar lehu k'desh Shmuel, we'll do like Shmuel. Shmuel said, Amar hekdesh shava manish shava pruta mechulal. If you had hekdesh, even though it could be worth $1 million, $1,000, but he redeems it on a pruta mechulal. We do this by Meiser Sheni, doesn't want to say. Kedekasivna, like the Gemara says, Kevan Sheken, since this is the case that we could, relying on Shmuel, we could redeem hekdesh, even though we're not supposed to make hekdesh bizman azeh rebosai. Yesh lanu lechasev, we should write here, she'ein din hamada lifnei kohen achshav klal, that the din of hamada does not apply at all bizman azeh, because you could redeem it for a shava pruta, you don't have to assess it. Aval mikomakom din erche behema noheg linyan, but there is an inyan for assessing the value of behemoths. Shemisha avar herich, if someone made the mistake and they assessed the behemoth bizman azeh, tzarich lasos b'davar mashet tivanu chazal, he has to pay that value. So if you went to a kohen to assess your animal, you have to pay this value. Mekevan shebediyevet tzrichinanu takana b'davar afilu bizman azeh yesh lanu limnoisa. He counts this as a mitzvah. Koki yotziba b'klal mitzvahs neches bizman hazeh. Sefer Chinuch counts this as a mitzvah that's noheg bizman hazeh, even though you wouldn't really need a hamar harachas. Rabbi Lashav asks, so our whole Gemara, we've been fighting for this whole daf. When do we need Hamad Aracha? We've been fighting. Reish Lakish has been fighting. Rabbi Yochanan's fighting. Rabbi Shimon's fighting. When do we need Hamad Aracha? So Rabbi Lashev reads this, that really you don't need Hamad Aracha, but you need Ra'ui, a Hamad Aracha. Like we have the din, Ein Bila Me'akevet. If you have Ra'ui Labila, the stirring up the mincha does not hold it back as long as it was the size appropriate to stir. So here too, if the animal was Ra'ui for Hamad Aracha, the animal was alive, then it wouldn't need the assessment by the Kohen. You could be podeyet on a Sheva Pruta. That's what Rabbi Yashiv adds. So this mitzvah has a shaychus bizman hazeh, but please don't makdish anything today or tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow 6 a.m. We'll see you, Rabbi. We'll finish up Mazel Tov in advance. Thank you.